So this stream, I mean, for everybody that's not, aware, is kind of I started this to try to help people not just get a job in games, but try to like realize if games are for them or not, like working in the industry. Because I see a lot of people that spend years and years trying to get in and then they give up or whatever, and they just don't get the help they need. And some people find out they don't want to do it, and some people just never get the help they need. So a lot of people from the industry are so busy that they just it's not that they don't care, they're just so busy they don't even think about it, and
Yeah.
nobody has the time. So my idea is to try to like break down those walls, bring the industry, because I've been in the industry, bring people from the industry together with the people that want to go into the industry, and maybe we can help each other out. That's kind of the whole idea behind this whole thing.
That's
um,
great.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, it took me a while to get here, but I'm here. So
Yeah.
but I guess I wanted you to kind of talk about yourself, and you can share your screen inside StreamYard if you have that up still. You should.
Yeah. I have a little. I can go through my.
Oh, there's Lauren. She's back. She's back.
Oh, yeah. Can you see my screen?
Hey, I was getting worried.
It's all good.
Yes.
Great. So I've got my like portfolio keynote up that goes through a little bit of my early work and my journey. So I figured I could just go through some of that.
Nice. That's sweet. That's keynote right here.
Yeah. So I'm from Texas originally.
Mhm.
And
You had some fun stories about Texas.
Oh yeah. Kind of been back in ages. I'm living in New Mexico now, so I'm close to it. Actually, no, I have been back. I went to El Paso recently. So, and I got my start. I had a degree in illustration. I was 3.5 years through that degree, realized that I was like, editorial illustration is like a really hard thing to get into. I'm not sure if I want to do it. And I ended up in a 3D class, and it was entirely not by my choice. It was the only elective that was left, and I was like, I guess I'll end up in this. And I totally fell in love. I was like, this is like The Sims, except I have even more control. I can like change all of the couches, and I totally revamped my portfolio in the space of a week, and made like 30 really shitty pieces of 3D. This was actually on the upper end of that.
You couldn't bring yourself to show the other thing.
Oh no, I couldn't find such really bad stuff.
You just deleted them. Shift delete on all of this.
Yeah. So I met Damon, our old art director, at a job fair, and he was like, "Yeah, this isn't for you. You should do something else."
Oh, really? Oh my God. He told it was funny. I remember that because I was working with him at the time.
Yeah.
And he talked about it later, but like he said, yeah, I told her as like, yeah, he like gave you a bunch of feedback and stuff. This is like spoilers, but like a year later you came back and he was like he's like, whoa, like your stuff's like totally revamped, like totally bad. Like he's like, he gave you a job obviously. So
yeah. So he the year when I came back, we were going through my portfolio. I had a different haircut, and so he didn't recognize me at first. And he was going through my stuff, and he was like, "Oh yeah, this is pretty good." And then he gets to the last page, and there was one piece left from the old portfolio, and he was like, "Oh my God, you're a shitty horse girl."
He actually said that. That's funny.
Yeah, but then he sort of backpedaled and was like, "No, actually, I'm really impressed that you improved really quickly, and I think I have a job for you." So it was great. Just classic Damon. It was really good to work with him.
Yeah, unfiltered.
Unfiltered.
It's Damon and Januzelli. I should probably actually type that because no one's gonna be able to spell that.
Yeah.
I don't even know if whatever. I can link it later if somebody wants it.
He was great to work for. He was like a really important mentor for me in terms of like growing as an artist. But from there, I went and I worked at a bunch of different places. So I had an internship at the MIT Game Lab doing sort of soft body physics stuff. I worked at Phenomena and Dimble. and Apple. This is sort of some of my early work. This is when I was more so like I've actually made a move, which might be interesting to talk about in terms of your audience. I was in games for a long time, and now I've moved out of games, and I was a prototyper at Apple for a while. And now I'm a creative director for just XR in general for entertainment and arts based things.
Cool. Yeah, I see. So it's funny. This is a trend that I've noticed, and even myself, is a lot of game developers are moving over to VR and AR because it's just not. It's not as crazy. Basically, it's fun, it's new, and it's not as crazy at the same time. So it's kind of like more techie vibe, not like a gamery vibe. So it's a little bit different.
Yeah. So this is some of this is from World's Domination, which is what we worked on together, and Harmonix, and then this was my work from Zanga doing little animals. Your basic turnaround with concept art. A lot of that. From there, I went on to work on a game called Where the Water Tastes Like Wine. So I did a revamping of their 3D pipeline. When I came on, it looked like this, and it barely ran. And I worked with the art director, Colin Jett, to take what was really lovely about his painting style and translate that into 3D. And we looked a lot at Google Maps and Google Earth and how they translate 3D terrain into polygons. We really liked the look of that, and just like the American landscape.
Yeah.
And this is some screenshots from the game. Oh, and we did this really dope weather system that I was really proud of. It doesn't always translate on streams because the color switch is really subtle.
That's fun.
That was that. I also worked on a game called Luna, which was a VR game about a little bird who swallows a piece of the moon. It was the same sort of thing as Colin Jett's work, where I was working with an art director, Glenn Hernandez, who has a really beautiful illustrative style, and figuring out how to bridge the gap between his style and being in a 3D space. And this is what we ended up with. So these are screenshots from in-game.
Nice.
Doing a bunch of character modeling and environment design and lighting and particles and stuff like that. I also worked as a senior artist on Monument Valley 2. These were some of my levels from the game. It was really cool to be able to pay homage to some of my favorite illustrators, like Mary Blair, in terms of color palette, and to architecture that I really love. So this is a church in Italy. And we'd work with designers, starting with something that that looked like what's on the left, which would just be like a really gray box puzzle. And usually go through something that looked like the middle zone, doing a lot of different iterations of possible visual design, and then end up with something on the right.
It's funny because they already had a whole nother game to get the gray box stuff from. So like, I bet the gray box on the first game was just actual like no good art whatsoever.
And the tools we had on this project were insane.
They're all proprietary?
It was all Unity proprietary stuff. We had a shader, which we had a coder named Alejandro Fernandez. I'm not sure if it was Fernandez or Hernandez, who had a PhD in physics and did these like insane shaders. But
because that's like the last thing you think of when you play Monument Valley is insane.
I know,
shaders.
right? But it's the subtlety of the shaders is what made it work. Like having a shader, which the point of it was to get that really illustrative light.
Yeah.
Cool. And these are some more. And so the puzzle is exactly the same in all three of these, and the pathway, which will show you the sort of what iterations look like. We also looked at a lot of like.
Nice. Oh yeah, my banner's
I
still
was
up.
going
Sorry.
through Nicki Minaj phase when I was on this project, so a lot of my levels pulled aesthetically from her music videos. Those are some more. Candy was an inspiration. Drag queens.
Nice.
And this is another sort of gray box. This was what I got from a designer. And then usually in terms of art direction, what I would get from David, who is our art director, would be something along these lines. He'd be like, do a big fancy door level. And we'd go through trying to describe the level, just in terms of what made it distinct from other levels, as best we could. And then from there, taking the words that we thought were the most important. So for this particular level, we thought the fact that it was layered, the fact that it had a lot of repetitive elements, the fact that it had rotation, that was the most important. And we'd make these boards where we'd print off our inspiration and pin them up. And those were all over the studio. And the boards were like really a big thing at us too on Monument Valley. We printed stuff out and we had it pinned all over. And we actually printed out the entire game and we kept it updated on a wall. And that was how we were monitoring our color beats and knowing, okay, well, maybe things are too dark at the beginning of the game when actually we want to be getting a sense of lightness. And like, oh, it seems like we have a lot of pink through this section.
Yeah.
And a way to be mindful about like the color journey that you're going through.
Yeah.
Which ended up being way more useful than having a bunch of stuff in a folder of JPEGs.
That's cool.
So those were the initial sketches. Oh, this is the shader. So this is a GIF. It's just going through like every single box that you had on the shader. So for the X, Y, and Z plane, the all faces facing that direction would get a color and a gradient. And then we could do like AO and additive color and all sorts of crazy stuff.
That's fun.
Yeah. And then that was the final level.
See, it's funny because everybody, after that game came out, everybody's like trying to do the aesthetic from that game on mobile, like forever. They're still trying to do it. So
yeah,
it's fun. But all they do is just make it like polygons and then have like flat colors, and they think they've copied it. So it's just kind of funny. There's like, once you see it, you're like, oh yeah, it'd be stupid to try to copy it because there's no way. I mean, you could, but it would just take a lot.
Yeah. And like just the debate about whether or not we would have foliage that was this high definition was like a huge thing aesthetically. I also worked on their most recent game, Repair. So I don't have images from, or it was, sorry, that was the developer name.
Oh, okay.
It's called, oh God, what is it called? I can't remember what they named it at launch. Handle with Care. That's it.
Yes.
Apple Arcade. And so these were the original programmer sketches. So she wanted to be able to like have an object that you were repairing. But like generally felt like having the little bar at the bottom as a UI didn't really work, and then the shelf at the top and the background didn't really have anything. It didn't make sense. It was just like a drum floating in space.
Yeah.
But what she really liked was the color scheme. So she really liked that pink and that green.
Mm-hmm.
So looking at like Marie, I can't remember this lady's name, but certain illustrators and stuff like that, and these like purse.
That's all right.
Purse, like haul pictures that were really popular on Instagram.
Yeah.
Do you remember those? Or if you're on Instagram, came up with this sketch where you'd be repairing something, but your phone would be sort of the table.
Oh, right. No, I hadn't seen that.
Yeah, and then this was like the final style that I had set up before leaving us too. And then a different artist took over, and they took it in a slightly different direction, but it still has a lot of the similar elements.
Cool. Cameron has a question. He said,
Yeah.
How long did it take you to get into the game industry? You got in fairly quickly, right?
I did, yeah. So I came in pretty much straight from college. I had 2 internships while I was in college, one at MIT and one at 38 Studios. And then while I was in college, I got my senior year, I got the job offer from Zynga from Damon, who's the mutual art director of Sterling and myself at Zynga and at Proletariat.
Yeah, so she worked really hard and upgraded her work. So if you had not advanced as much, you probably wouldn't have happened. But same thing. I was telling somebody earlier. It took me 8 months out of school because as soon as I updated my reel, I got a job. So I didn't update my reel for 8 months, and then I updated it, and then I got a job. So I always tell people just keep updating, because if you're not getting a job, it's because your stuff's not good enough usually. Unless you're not selling, you're doing a terrible job at selling yourself sometimes. But for the most of the time, it's just because you need to keep getting better. People go 2 years, 3 years. You got to redo everything at that point. I'm in the process right now, actually, of redoing my portfolio website. So if anybody goes and looks at it, it's work in progress. All the pieces are in place, but the design's not totally final. But I'm in a stable job that I like, but it's still, I'm trying to make a point of keeping my portfolio updated. Yeah, I just recently, so this last year I've been full-time freelance. It was the first time in almost my whole career that I had to actually work at making my self look presentable online. I redid my resume and everything. So I'm in that boat too. I realized it's better to just have it up to date. Yep. Cool. So what else? Is there anything else?
What else? So I can't talk really about what I did at Apple, but I can talk about a team that was adjacent. So a team that was adjacent to us, they worked on the Apple Watch, but before there was a watch, there was an iPhone app that imitated a watch. And it looked like that first, and it looked like that before that. So we did similar stuff. I had a coworker who said that we would do sci-fi theater for executives. So if they wanted to, and this is not a thing that we ever did or a product, but if they were oh, we want to make an Apple table, then we would glue a bunch of iPads to a table and make a bunch of apps that would work for that. And again, this is not something that happened. We're never pitching Apple. Don't come after me, Apple. But we would do that and then show that and be okay, well, this is what we think it might be if you made an Apple table. And we did that for a particular hardware group. This was I've been learning to program in C# recently, so this is my first little Unity experiments. Cool. Oh, and then this was a Magic Leap proposal, and Magic Leap was doing developer proposal things where they were giving out $50K. I put a proposal together for a tarot, a Magic Leap tarot deck. Yeah. Where you'd put the cards in front of you, and then you'd see stuff appear on top of them, and you'd be able to interact with the cards. And that was that. So Meowth is an immersive experience, on-site art collective thing in New Mexico, and we did a large-scale VR AR play, also using Magic Leaps, and this giant robot. So you would climb up on top of this, put on a Magic Leap headset, and then you'd like go through this experience where you drove the robot and there was like solenoids in it. And it's dope. And it was like a full-on play. So these were the actors. Yeah, and so that's what
So
I've
all
been.
the actors were in VR inside. They're being like broadcast.
No, so you'd be walking through the space and you had a Magic Leap headset on.
Oh, gotcha.
And then you'd interact with the actors and you'd interact with objects in space.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, do you have any of your filters? Like,
I do.
You've been doing? Have you made any more?
No, not recently. I got a dog last month, so all of my free time has been going towards like
make AR dog filters. Then.
I know. It's like a thing on Snapchat. So I'm working on some right now, which I'm pretty excited by. I'm doing some client work around filters, which has been exciting too. But so these are my AR filters. This is what a lot of my personal work is currently. I think most people's familiarity with filters is as like the puppy faces and stuff like that, or if anybody's on like dating apps. I know that it's the bane of many people's existence on Tinder. But I think that it's a really interesting medium artistically in terms of the stuff that you can do. We've been like changing and adorning our faces probably, well, I don't know when we started making masks, but we've been doing it for a long time. And it just feels like a new form of like mask making and digital adornment, which is super exciting. This was the most recent one I did, which makes you like the star of a romance novel. This one. The stars look very different today. It was based on this image, which was taken by the Hubble telescope.
Yeah.
This one
porcelain
was face. And it was based on this piece of Delft porcelain that's in the Met. This one. Be a sketch
face, yeah.
This boomer one. And then this one is the one that most people have seen, which is like sort of cloud face.
Yeah, it's really awesome. So, yeah, it makes a whole difference. Seeing like when you see the pictures, like, oh, cool. But if you actually,
that's one of the things that I actually need to update on my portfolio. So I really should have GIFs of these, not just still images.
Right.
But yeah, so that's my work.
That's awesome. All right, I'm gonna bring up a demo reel just so we can do that. Brian pledged to my Patreon, or actually he just sent me a one-time payment on PayPal, so it was nice to give me something so I could critique him. Where's there's RyanHaines.com. I'm gonna let it play through once and then do it. Cool. Yeah, so I mean, you've got a good start here. I don't see anything that like jumps out as like totally drastic or anything. Like everything's confident. All right, let's start the. I'm gonna turn the sound off because that's gonna get really crazy. As far as like the sword swing, there's some pops in the middle there. There's some stuff that's not so fluid in this. It's almost there, but I feel like you need to go into the graph editor. I don't know if you're familiar with using the graph editor or not. That's usually the biggest problem people have is they don't use the graph editor, so things get all choppy and they don't know what's happening. If you go into the graph editor, let me just slow it down and see. Yeah, so there's like some frames here with some weirdness. Especially, so this swing here is actually slower than the end part. Like this part at the end is faster than the swing itself, which shouldn't happen. The swing itself should be like 2-3 frames max, just like, and then after it should slow down, so you can get the anticipation for the next one. There's that pop there. So this, you see the sword bounces up. It almost looks like she hits herself in the head a little bit. So you want to make sure that she's, yeah, it's kind of going into the slow anticipation on that. So it's really just like a rejiggering of time. It's actually, you don't have to change the whole timing. You just have to make sure the swing itself is way faster and the after is way slower. So you're just kind of like redistributing time, if that makes sense. And yeah, you must have had like some gimbal stuff going on there. That's what I'm guessing happened there. And so you want a nice clean arc. I wish I could draw on my screen. I'm gonna have to get like some sort of app where I can just do that. You can see my now. So you want to have a nice clean arc. Right now, that the sword kind of goes like a right angle, or it does it. Yeah, it kind of goes down, but then goes straight, or straighten up. You kind of want it. You'd like on a nice swoop almost. You want to see like a nice like circle, well, pretty much on that one. And then it when it comes here, it does the circle. It does another little tiny circle, and then like goes it should come like out this way, like out instead of straight down. Or no, sorry. I see what you're doing now. Sorry. Yeah, there's that weird pop in there, and that center part. You just got to get rid of that, and that'll help things a lot. And then she's got that next swing. I think the same thing happens here. Yeah, it feels like the fastest part is after she would have already, like, if she was really gonna hurt somebody, the fastest part would be here. And right now, the fastest part is like after she had swung. So that's again the same thing. It almost the same problem at the end where there's these pops. So I'm guessing you were just kind of struggling with the controls, and the rotations were getting so crazy as she was spinning that it was just getting really hard. So you're just gonna have to, I mean, what you end up having to do is just, in some spots, like key frame by frame if you really need to. I try not to do that, but if you open up the graph editor and just look at one thing at a time, just look at just the hand, one hand. That's it. Even like one axis on one hand at one time. Like, don't look at like all the rotations, all translations. Like, just say like, I'm only gonna focus on a top down of this. Like, you flip the camera to top down. You're looking down, and you're seeing like how the sword is moving, and you just fix it so it looks like it's moving nice. And then you go to the side, and it looks like crap, so you fix it from just the side until it looks nice. And then you go to 3/4, and you see a little weird stuff, and you fix it till it looks, and you just keep doing that until it looks nice, like all the way around. And that's essentially like my workflow in games, because in movies you can just kind of you have your camera angle and you're done. But in games you have to keep going. You have to make sure everything looks good. And it's impossible to satisfy every angle. Like, you have to pick the angle that's most used or most seen in the game. In this case, it's your demo reel, so you really want to pick this angle to look the best. You pick that angle to do the best silhouette and the best action and everything, and then others you just kind of make it look nice as nice as you can. All right, we'll move on to the next one. All right, let's see another swing here. So that one is better. There's something about it. Let me play it. It's funny, like, it's all like almost there. It's like a little bit on everything. So this, I feel like this downswing, it feels like it's all in the arms. I feel like her body should have, yeah, there's just something about it. Like, I feel like she should have like moved down faster with her whole body. Like, cause she does that step. Like, I feel like she should have like distributed her weight faster. I think that's it. She needs to distribute her weight to the end a lot faster. But yeah, the pose at the end is nice though. I like that little hair waving. Next one. So the walk. There we go. Is everyone enjoying themselves with this? Do you have anything to add, Lauren? I know you're not an animator, but I'm sure you could take some animation.
Well, actually, I was wondering about your feeling about demo reels as the like default portfolio thing now.
What do you mean? Oh, for
like, I've seen some people who like don't even have websites, who just have like a sort of portfolio Instagram, which is like clips, so that you can scroll through it really quickly.
So for animation, excuse me, for animation, I still recommend a reel, just so someone can get the link, click it, play it, and then be done. And you don't have to like go to a site and like click on this animation, then click on this animation. Click. So it's for modeling and concept art. Yes, that's like a definite yes, because you just want to see a page of stuff, and you can quickly see like, okay, what this person can do. But for animation, it's a little bit tougher. I still recommend the demo reel for animation. And I know what you're saying. Yeah, if you're a modeler, I guess, yeah, that's a good point. If you're a modeler or concept artist, definitely do ArtStation. I mean, I honestly don't know why you do anything else, or Instagram, like you were saying. Because, you know, nobody wants to update, like, keep their site up to date and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a pain. Like, you might as well put that time into making better art. Like, that's a better use of your time. Like, so, yeah, yeah, essentially. Now for this one, the walk itself is working. It feels like there's a part of it that's too slow. The sword might be coming out too far on that. At least for how it's moving, there should be a lot more like. I might get my hand on screen. Okay, you see a lot more like, you know, a secondary action overlapping at like on the sword to make it feel heavier. Like her wrist shouldn't be able to like completely keep it straight, which is what it's doing now. It's like her wrist is almost completely straight. You want to make sure it's wobbling, but it can't be too much, otherwise it just feels floppy. You don't want it to get the floppiness, so it's very hard. You want to feel the muscles tensing, but you want to feel the weight in it. I guess that's how you kind of put it. You don't want it to feel like she's just kind of like not really holding on. And so the walk, there's something on how when it loops around. I think. I mean, you're displaying this. You displayed really nicely though. The 3 angles, I like that. A lot of times people like loop it once at one angle, then start over, loop again at the other angle, start over. Like three angles, excuse me, at once is a really good way to show it. Just so you want to be mindful of people's time. Always be mindful of people's time, which you are here. You don't like go through this like huge intro and everything. You just get right into it. Always be mindful of people's time because they're going to give you like 10. So yeah, this is the 10-second mark. This is where someone will already decide if they're going to hire you or not for a lot of reels, unfortunately. And so let me get into this a little bit more. And I guess there could be like just a little bit more. Overall, her spine feels a little bit stiff. Yeah, there's just a stiffness there that I just don't feel like. I feel like you could like kind of, you know, get it kind of more weight, more bouncy, I guess you could call it. I don't. It's not really bouncy though. It's just like a little bit more weight in there. I see a big no with the not the skirt, the tunic, I guess, the long shirt. It's intersecting right there, so make sure you get rid of that. It looks like there's animation controls to try to calm that down. If it's really something that the rig like can't do, then that's terrible. Like she should be able to lift her leg farther than that. So yeah, do whatever you can to try to fix that. Sorry, I'm gonna. There is something about the loop itself I really want to get to because it's important. I think I saw it. So every frame counts. There it is. There it is. This foot here. That's what was bothering me. So she hits the ground here, then the foot slides forward, then it comes back. So once her foot touches the ground, it immediately needs to start moving back. Like it's an escalator. Like as soon as it touches, it needs to move back because otherwise it feels like she's sliding on the ground. So that must be where the animation loops. So I would check that. And there's other stuff in here. I could keep going on, but you know, I think starting on that stuff is going to get you closer to where you need to be. But again, it's not like terrible. Like it still feels like there's weight there. Cool. So you have some interactions here. Sorry, I haven't been looking at the chat much. And yeah, I mean, obviously, so I know it's short. It is very short. Like that might work against you a little bit, but I'm very glad that you had restraint to not put everything you've done in this reel. A lot of people, just to fill out the time, to fill out the reel, they'll just put a bunch of stuff in there just to make it a minute long. So I'm glad that you showed restraint in just saying like, hey, this is my best stuff, because that's what happened to me. I didn't get a job somewhere because they're like, do you have any more work? I'm like, no, I just put my best stuff on it. That was it. I don't have any more that I'm proud of. So that's not a good that's not a good example because I didn't get the job, but it just goes to show you, like, I wouldn't have even gotten an interview. I was in an interview then. So you definitely don't want to put anything in there that looks bad, because then they're just going to think that you think that looks decent, which is not a good thing. Yeah, I mean, this works to this. I mean, I don't really have a whole lot to say on this because it works. um, I can just say that there's not a. It shows that you can work on a first person kind of view game. As far as animation goes, like, there's not a lot of. I mean, it shows you can do camera work. That's good too. Um, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't do too much with this, honestly. Like, I wouldn't waste your time trying to, like, totally revamp. Other than, like, his hand intersecting with that last piece, that bit there, I would fix that. But, because in a game that'll happen sometimes. But in Maya, if you're running out of Maya, they know you can make sure that doesn't happen. So, just, like, move move the clip up, or do something with, like, make the clip design different. Like, other than make it so you don't have to redo the animation if you don't have to, because you're in control of the design of this. Um, so yeah, I wouldn't go too crazy on this one, because I would just work on a new piece, honestly. Just get more pieces in here, because it's 30 seconds. You're probably gonna want to get it to at least a minute of good stuff. But yeah, it's getting there. We should put us on screen.
Well, since I'm in the process of revamping my portfolio currently, I could talk a little bit about what that's been like, and like different portfolios.
So, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. As far as your skill goes, I put you as, like, an art director, because you do all the things an art director does. Are you technically an art director now?
Have you had, like, a creative director?
Creative director. Okay,
yeah.
So it's close.
It's, like, close. Yeah.
That's like a game designer, art director, essentially.
Yeah. So I do a lot of, like, strategy, and like putting together presentations about, like, creative vision, and working with the team to, like, build out stuff. And honestly, the past, like, 3 years, really all I've been on have been mostly sort of shorter term R&D projects, and that's sort of where I specialize, is, like, prototyping, and, like, testing things out really quickly. And I haven't been, like, since Monument Valley, haven't really been on production for things that were longer than, like, a month-long project, which honestly it works for me.
Yeah, prototyping's fun. I wish I could do that more. I've done that. Like, it's always like this, like, few month-long process or whatever, and then it feels like it's so fleeting, and then you're just on to production, and production's usually no fun, because then that's when you, like, figure out half the crap that you put together was all broken, or, like, it doesn't scale well or whatever. When you're prototyping, you're just throwing whatever. You're like, whatever, we don't have to worry about it. Let's just make it work. Make it work for now.
Yeah.
So that's fun.
When I made the move from us to Apple, there were some things that I thought I wanted there. So I thought I wanted to be working on, like, larger design problems, and I also thought I really wanted to be, like, only prototyping. Which is sort of, like, I got that, but then the problem with that is, like, you'll never ship. Like, being on a prototyping team at a company that's that large, even if, like, something that I proposed, like, became a real thing, it would be really hard to be like, oh, like, that was what I did on that. Whereas I just come from indie games where it was, like, like 8 of us making something, and you'd be like, oh, I built that level. I built that whole level with, like, one other person.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, and when you're in a beast as big as Apple, I also realized I care a lot about storytelling, and, like, human touch, which I was talking to a director at Apple who he was going through my work, and he was like, you seem to really like making things that are, like, halfway between the digital and physical, and, like, having things that have that feel like they were made by a human. So what are you doing at Apple? So that was also, like, a big revelation for me. But going through, like, redoing my portfolio and stuff, and getting advice from friends about, like, what the best way is to do that. And like depending on if you're talking to people in the tech industry who are like pure tech, or people who are entrepreneurs, or people who are creative directors, or people who are artists, the way people put their work together is so different. So my friends who are entrepreneurs, they don't even have websites anymore. They have decks, and they have like PDFs which they email to people, and they'll have socials, but like they don't bother with updating websites. And then
I've kind of noticed that. I have a website for like my freelance business just so it looks like a real business. But like nobody knows. A few people have checked it, and then someone was funny. I had something on there. It was like from a while ago, and they were like, "Oh, so what services do you provide?" And like blah blah blah. I'm like, "Oh, I haven't done that in a while, but I could talk to some people and do that." But it's just kind of funny that like it caught me by surprise because like I just stopped caring about it for a while.
Yeah, exactly. Well, because honestly, it's like not. It doesn't feel like the most relevant channel. Like the places that I get traffic are like Instagram, because that's where my content lives with filter work, and LinkedIn. So I get a lot of like my freelance requests from LinkedIn. But I don't really get anything from Facebook. I don't really get anything from Twitter.
Yeah, I've tried on Facebook, and it's just
and even Snapchat, which I have filters on Snapchat as well.
I did get a freelance gig recently from Twitter.
It
started like a year ago. I contacted them, and I just started it today. It's a really cool game, Red Lantern. It's a dog sledding game.
Oh.
And they're gonna launch on Switch, Xbox, PlayStation, all the whole bit. But it's like an indie game. Videos. I'm helping them do like some basically polish work to launch it. Let's see if they have like a trailer. I can't show anything I'm doing because I just started. So let's see if I can find a video here. Yeah, all right, I can share. Or let me get back to my StreamYard so I can share again. Here we go. Switch it around. I gotta remember not to do that. I just had it. Let's rip it out. There we go. So this is the Red Lantern and the dog sledding game. It's funny, when I first contacted them, it was just going to be a PC game.
Do you have those moments that stick out in your mind? When I was a kid, I was told you are what you do, so choose wisely. I could be an astronaut, a CEO, a painter, a doctor. I could be anything. Hi, I'm supposed to achieve great things.
That's pretty.
Unfortunately for me,
it's a fun game.
You are also your mistakes. And turns out they tend to remember those more. Hi, I'm a disappointment.
Reminds me of, what was that game?
So I've decided to become something else.
You had
something that can't
plane
be
that crashed in Alaska. And it was like a survival game.
Race in the Iditarod dog sled race, and
do you know the one I'm talking about?
I think I briefly remember. I don't remember the name of it.
And
it had really like winterly textures, and it was all like moody sunsets in the snow.
Yeah, the sunset's always dramatic.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of this.
However,
but maybe less depressing. That game was like
right up until now. Don't.
There it is.
That's cool.
Yeah. So I get to work on this. It's funny, they told me, they're like, when we made that trailer, none of that stuff was real. It was like basically like a prototype, and they just kind of like faked it all. And he's like, but now all that stuff is real. So it's what he's like, we made that trailer first, and it wasn't even like a real game yet, and then we turned it all into a real game. Yeah, it looks pretty much how it did in the trailer, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, so I just started on that, so it's very excited because I haven't worked on a narrative thing in forever. Like worked on little things, but it's mostly like casual games and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So nothing like fun in a long time. Oh, there's my LinkedIn. Yeah, let me turn it back to normal. Yeah, I'm not a fan of Upwork. It is good to get jobs to like start out and everything, but like if you're gonna live, I don't know if anybody that lives off of Upwork. It's nice for like side income. I don't think you can actually live off of Upwork. I mean, there's like a few people on like the top 1% of them, but I don't know. Have you tried it?
Really weird for filter work. So the cost for filters is all over the place. So the people who are doing big campaigns are charging like up to like 10 to 30K per filter. And then if you go on Upwork, people are charging like $20.
Yeah, that's like everything on Upwork is like $100. Let make me a game in $500. You know?
But it's creating this huge rift in the sort of filter scene because it's meaning that people's work is really devalued. Honestly, like the price for a filter should be around. It should be between like not less than 2K and like up to 10, and just but Upwork is making that like
right. Upwork. Yeah, I told someone before. It's like it's a race to the bottom.
Yeah,
so it's whoever bids the least, but you want it, but you're not making enough. Like,
yeah.
It's like, yeah, great, you're making $15 an hour for this thing that you got an education for. Like, you could go over to Target right now, where I used to work before I got my career and had an education, and make $15. I think it's like close to, it's maybe not quite $15 an hour depending where you live. Yeah, you need to. I tell people like $20 an hour is still very, very, very low, but that's still like the lowest you should ever possibly charge.
Yeah.
If you're just trying to get like experience and stuff, like $20 an hour is fine.
Especially if you're a freelancer, because you're factoring in your contract, you're factoring in the time that you spent looking for that job, like the fact that your taxes are way crazier, like all those things.
Yeah, but a lot of people, they don't. It's unfortunate, but that's what. Yeah, so Upwork is it can be hit or miss depending on what you need. Like if you need experience, it's fine. If you have the way to, if you have a job on the side, you can't. There's no way you can live. I don't believe it if anybody's told me they live off of Upwork. I mean, it's a little better now. I keep pushing Blender because I hope it catches on. I tried it recently, and I
remember the first time that because Blender was my first modeling program, but it felt like trying to model with the command line.
Yeah, it was bad.
It was so unpleasant. But like I opened it recently, and it seems a lot better. I still don't understand why all of the gizmo and everything is all different hotkeys.
Yeah, it's like a gizmo just like lives in space. Like you're like, why? I don't need this thing here in space.
Yeah. But other than that, it seems really good. I remember Blender Guru.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
back in the day.
Yeah, that guy's he's still going. He's
strong. He's been going since I was in college, so like more than a decade.
Yeah, I didn't know who he was until like last year. I was gonna do tutorials and streaming. And I found him, and I was like, oh, this guy's making him money, so why don't I just see what he's doing? Yes, yeah.
That's really good.
But yeah, it took him like 10 years to. That's the one thing. Like, if you really want to do this for a living, it takes years. So you have to have a plan in the meantime.
Yep.
Go join the Discord, become a part of the community of people. There's a lot of people there, people from the industry, people looking to get in. Everyone's helping each other. Like it's honestly, it's out of my hands at this point. I was like trying to moderate it and keep up with it and do. I'm like, I can't. This is its own thing now. I can't do this. So like, I'm just kind of taking suggestions and what people need, and people seem to already be like wanting to collaborate in there and work on stuff. So yeah, it's really cool. Cool. So thank you all, and have a good night, Lauren.
Bye.
Good night, everybody. See you guys.